It is with great pleasure that I introduce Corey Saucier, a class of 2011 Lambda Fellow in Nonfiction.
Thank you. I am reading from a larger piece that is called God in Three Parts. And this is a part of the first part. It began with him on his knees, eyes closed, mouth open, and heart waiting to be filled. This is the position of prayers, the position of sex, and Corey's first introduction to God. He was 3. Tracy was my favorite cousin. She was blonde-haired, blue eyes, and black, with skin the color of salted butter. It's the color that white women risk cancer for. In the South, we call it high yellow, and it automatically makes you beautiful. She was the prettiest black girl I had ever seen, and I wanted to be just like her when I grew up. She taught me how to pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, she said, lips like jasmine and cherry in a room of pale pink and rose, and Corey repeated, his little hands folded in concentration, speaking to a Father he did not yet know. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven, she continued, her voice patient and clear, the picture of young femininity. Pretty is perfect at 22. And as Corey repeated an incantation that would bond him to magics that he could not yet control or comprehend, he mimicked her posture and cadence, and subtle bend of waist and wrist, and learned more than just rote memory of words. You see, Tracy was a princess, the fairest girl in the family, training to be a stewardess for American Airlines, with a Farrah Fawcett bangs and Brooke Shields face. The world came easy to Tracy. She wore $100 shoes and name-brand bags, and men gave her everything. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. Corey was smart for his age, young and precocious. He already knew his alphabets, could spell his first and last name, and he was already caught giving a blowjob behind his uncle's house. CoreySaucier, he and she had a lot in common, and one day he'd be a princess too. He was a quiet child that sucked his thumb and wore matching Sears short suits in blues, yellows, and hunter greens. He was sensitive and polite and attentive and articulate and well-behaved, and his mother loved him very much. But this was the beginning of the story, before the evil stepdad and the beatings and the fleeing of black eyes and busted lips in Mexico. This is before puberty and the rumors of sexuality. This is before the awakening in college, before the addiction and the disease and death and resurrection. This is before the days in the desert, before the miracles, before the issues of blood. This is when Corey was 3. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Tracy didn't visit often. She always just seemed to be away. The Greeks called it exiled. But no one seemed to know her crime. They called her beautiful and perfect and pretty to her face, but when she was gone, no one seemed to remember her name. But she was Corey's favorite, and he watched how boys watched her. One night, she came into his room crying, her eyes red and wet and striking crystal blue. Where the hell did she get blue eyes? And she said, Corey, do you want to learn to pray? He nodded, suddenly serious, and he himself on the brink of tears. He could tell that this was something different, something important, something he really wasn't ready for, but this was Tracy, and she was crying, and he wanted to learn everything that he could from her. This is the last thing you say before you go to sleep. The first thing you say when life gets hard, and the tears were there more fully, unmasked, silent, and they purified her words. Now remember, this is important. This is not a joke or make-believe. This is powerful and something that you have to respect. And if you believe, it will help you for the rest of your life, even if no one else will. And suddenly, Tracy cracked. she broke right before his eyes like a perfect piece of crystal hit by a note too sharp for something so fragile to withstand. She had always been poised and delicate and unblemished and beautiful, but now with tears painting her face with hurt, the sound of loss and disappointment raking the tenor from her voice, it shattered the illusion of light and glass that once held her together. Now broken, she was even more beautiful. And like a spell that needed a sacrifice to activate, suddenly the fairy princess could call on her power, and there was magic in the room. Corey was crying now too, not afraid or sad, but touched by something he had no words for. So this is what God is. Just repeat after me, she said. And he did. For thine is the power and the glory forever and ever and ever. Amen.